Hey everybody, how's it going? It's a Daily Shooter, and today we're going to be taking a look at an incredible American-made AK-74 chambered in 5.45 by 3.9. This is the Riley Defense AK-74C. Let's check it out. Okay, so the Riley Defense AK-74C. The C stands for classical because it has that classical look to it. It's got that teak wood buttstock, the teak handguard, it's got the bakelite grip. This thing looks phenomenal, but one of my favorite things about it is completely US made. It's not something that was made from a parts kit, just shipped to the US and then assembled here. These are US components built here in the US and assembled here as well. So I think that's pretty cool. Now, US made AK anythings have kind of gotten a bad rap over the last few years. There's been a couple bad cherries out there, but Riley Defense is something that I've been testing out for quite a while now. This is the 74. You guys might remember the review that I did on the 47 chambered in 7.62 by 3.9. This thing ran fantastic. I have probably over 6,000 rounds through this thing now. I've used it to test optics, mounts, and all sorts of accessories and stuff like that. This one right here has been a pretty intense review, especially with current ammo prices and situations with availability, because I have put over 2,000 rounds through this before bringing you this review. So it wasn't something that I did quickly. I've used this in multiple videos already. You guys saw it in a ballistics gel test. You guys have seen this in accuracy testing and other things. So I put a lot of work in with this before I brought it in front of the camera, and I can say this thing is phenomenal. Okay, so here's a closer look at our AK-74. Now, I do want to mention this was sent to the channel by Riley Defense for me to be able to test out and review for you. Ammunition costs were on me. Spent a little bit more than $1,800 on 3,000 rounds of 5.45 by 3.9, and I ran most of it through this. So there was a lot of money spent on ammunition there. Mostly it's going to be Red Army Standard. I did run a couple other brands through this as well, but a majority of it was Red Army Standard. So we're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Did have a couple minor issues while I was out there using this, but for the most part it ran absolutely perfect. As a matter of fact, in terms of reliability, it did run absolutely perfect. So let's go ahead and talk about the features first, and then we'll get into my experience while I had it out there. So the features that we have here are actually pretty good, especially given what's on the market today. AKs used to be so much more affordable, and the prices just keep going up higher and higher and higher. So finding something that's a good value and still gives you features is just getting harder and harder to do. But because this is American made, doesn't need to be imported or anything else, we've got all the great features on here. So one of the first things I like is going to be the fact that they use this really nice teak wood on the furniture. Teak is an excellent wood for something like this. It's very weather resistant. It's resistant to dry rot. It's actually used in shipbuilding for that specific purpose. So we have a teak stock, teak upper and lower handguard. It's got a really nice finish on it. It's kind of a matte finish. It doesn't have too much glare, but it has a little bit of a shine just to give it that classic look, and it feels excellent. Very nice and smooth. We got the bakelite grip. One thing that I really like is that on both my Riley Defense AKs, the 74 and the 47, they both have the safety, which has this little slot cut into it right here, which does allow you to hold that bolt back. So you would basically just bring the bolt back, you would line it up with this notch, bring that up, and it will hold the bolt back or hold the bolt open so that, if you're at a range and they say, open and show clear, and or leave it at the table so that the range guy can come around and inspect the chamber, you can do that with this versus maybe other AKs where, there might be an issue with that. They'll just have to come back and rack it through. So I really like this safety. Another thing I like about this safety is it's got a little bit of a notch cut out, and not a notch, but it's got a little bit of a shelf folded into it right here. So you're not going to have any over travel up, and you're not going to have any over travel down, because right here there is another little clip that's going to hit. So you're not going to override the safety either up or down on this thing. I like that a lot as well. Another thing is you got this thumb shelf right here. This thumb shelf is fantastic because, again, when this thing is up here and it's on safe, and you bring, your finger over, I guess if you're holding like this, it would just be your finger, but you bring your finger over, you can go ahead and bring that down with your finger without having to do any weird movements or take anything, off of the grip. Another thing I like is the fact they have that extended mag release. And when it comes to AKs, I think that's one thing that just should be there, period, instead of that short mag release. And that's because in some AKs, not this one, I have tried every kind of magazine you can imagine, from American-made magazines to Bulgarian magazines and everything in between, and they all fit fine in this. I didn't have issues with anything getting stuck or not getting in right. Everything worked fine, but with the longer mag release, not only does it make it easier to push on, but it gives you a longer lever that gives you more leverage and therefore more effort to get something out should it get stuck. So if you end up with a double feed or you end up with some type of malfunction, instead of that short little mag lever right there and you're really trying to get in there to get that mag out, this one is nice and easy to get out. It gives you a lot of leverage and a lot of push to be able to strip that. So I thought that was a pretty nice feature as well. We have, the standard stuff. We have your bayonet lug right there. We have your cleaning rod. There is no trap door on the back of this for, the cleaning kit that you might find on some others. But you get the cleaning rod right there, and it is a very nice receiver. We have a heat-treated, stamped receiver. The rivets look fantastic. I don't see anything moving, nothing walking. The barrel pin is in nice and tight. Everything looks really good. To be honest with you, it looks great. And we also have that mount on the side, a side mount for an AK rail or an optic rail that you want to put on there. Now, I tried to keep everything as US as possible here, so we have a US-made Midwest Industries mount on the side with the Trijicon TA50. The TA50 does have billet drop compensation in it for 7.62x3.9, but it seems to work just fine with the 5.45 as well. It just takes some minor adjustments. But the TA50 Trijicon and then the Midwest Industries side rail mount works absolutely great with this thing. I don't have any problems with zero. It's a machined piece on the side right there that this rail locks into, so it's very accurately made. Now, I know not everybody's into the tech specs because you could just read those for yourself, but I'm going to try and give you just one place to go to where you don't have to read them. And I'm going to read the specs to you directly from Riley Defense's website. So it's a fully heat-treated mil-spec stamped receiver, chrome-lined barrel. It's a 16.25 inch in length. 24 by 1.5 right-hand thread for that muzzle device. Does have a really nice muzzle device on it as well. 5.45 does not have a lot of recoil. It doesn't. It is so sweet to shoot. This is a 5.45 right here. As you can see, it's kind of similar to a 223 5.56. Not identical whatsoever, but you guys probably saw that in the ballistics gel test. I'll put that test down in the comments, or excuse me, in the description box. So if you want to see the difference between 5.45 and 5.56 in gel, you can do that. But it has a nice muzzle device on it that really helps with the recoil. Forged trunnion and bolt carrier. Those are two things that I think are extremely important. So we have a forged trunnion, forged bolt carrier, machine scope mount side rail. We took a look at that already. Front and rear sights are both adjustable. And these are, this is a classic, right? So it's the adjustable sights that you're already going to be used to if you've owned an AK in the past. Maybe you have a 47. It's going to be the same thing there. Bayonet lug, bolt hold open safety. We talked about that. Cleaning rod, extended magazine. It did come with a Magpul magazine in 5.45 right here. And so that is what I used primarily, because obviously if it comes with it, there's a good chance that people are going to go out and just buy the same thing if they want more. So again, that's really what I kind of went through most of. Now, one thing I want to point out is that this is probably the best out-of-the-box AK trigger that I have ever used. And that's saying something, because I've spent some money on some pretty nice out-of-the-box AKs that don't have a trigger like this. The take-up is so minimal, it's so short, but it's also extremely light. I'm going to say the take-up is maybe a pound. And instead of coming back to like this solid wall, you feel resistance and then it kind of pops over what I like to call a speed bump, right? So it's less of a, a hard break. It feels really nice. The break is probably only about, I'm going to say 2.5 pounds, 2.5 to 3 max, but it's just as smooth as butter. The reset's also really nice. Everything about this trigger just really makes shooting this a lot of fun, and it helps with those long distance shots as well, because you want to put as little movement, you know, as little contact as you can here, so that this thing's not moving off target for those longer ranges. So having a nice light trigger means, again, there's less pull against this rifle right here and less chance that you're going to pull your shot. So I really do like the trigger on this. Now, this AK has been 100% reliable. I've had absolutely no reliability issues with it whatsoever. Every time I put a mag in and a round goes in the chamber, it goes off. That's just the bottom line. It's extremely reliable. I know that I could pick this thing up right now if I needed it to defend my life, defend my home, whatever I needed it for. It's going to work every single time. And to me, that type of confidence is priceless. So it's worked really well. Again, I haven't put, you know, AK Operators Union type ammo through here, you know, the 10,000 rounds that he does, 5,000 rounds, but the couple thousand that I ran through it, again, absolutely zero issues. And that's actually kind of a lot for, you know, my typical review process, but I wanted to run it out as much as I could. So everything as far as reliability is fantastic. The sights on this thing are great. You know, they're nice and centered. They're not canted to the left or right at all. The rear sights were pretty much set up exactly where I needed them, so I didn't have to mess with the rear sights. All the shooting that I did with the sights was fine there, but obviously I ended up throwing on that Trijicon up top there on that little rail mount. But I mean, for reliability and accuracy purposes, I honestly don't see the need to spend more money on a different AK. This thing right here, it runs well, it's reliable, and it will definitely get the job done. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the minor issue that I had with this, and this is something that I cannot repeat, but you guys probably saw it during my ballistics gel test video. I had this thing resting on a bag. It was against my shoulder. I was holding it really lightly because I was shooting at a ballistics gel block, which is only 6 inches by 6 inches, and I wanted to try and hit that block right in the center. So I had a very light grip and kind of a different grip than I would normally get, and when I pulled the trigger, 2 rounds went off. And it happened in such quick succession that in the ballistics gel block, they hit right on top of each other. That means that they both went off and hit the ballistics gel block before the block even started to kind of move like jello out of the way. If you ever seen ballistics gel react when it gets hit by a bullet, it kind of, you know, packs itself up into a ball and then it kind of moves out of the way. And so it hit before that really started to happen very much, and I found that really interesting. But when I went back and I slowed down the video as much as I could and still get a decent image out of it, it looks like what happened was almost just kind of like a bump fire on my part. So I had my finger on the trigger, I pulled the trigger, so I could bring my finger off the trigger as the recoil is happening, and then as I'm pushing back forward with my shoulder against the bag, it looks like I broke that reset the second that the reset happened. So it didn't even look like a full complete trigger pull, it just was bang, reset, bang. So it just happened like kind of like if you were to use either a bump stock or if you were to use your belt loop or something in order to bump fire. That's kind of what it seemed like to me. The other thing that happened was kind of my fault. I took this thing here, I had it on the back of my truck. I went to grab a shooting table that I have in the back of my truck, and the wind caught it. And that wind just zipped right across the truck, and it launched this rifle out into the rocks. It probably went 10 feet before it landed, and it smashed against the stock right here, and I ended up with a small hairline fracture right at the back. So it's really nothing major. It's hard to see. It's not like this big crack, but there is a small hairline fracture from this launching off of the back of my truck right there. But other than that, I mean, that's it. You know, this is an issue that was caused by me. This is possibly an issue that was caused by me, but still something worth bringing up. So again, this is the Riley Defense AK-74. Absolutely incredible value, a lot more value than if you go out there and just buy something off of name, you know, something where you're going to spend $1,500. I wouldn't do that. This thing will get the exact same job done, if not better, and it's going to cost you a lot less. So definitely worth checking out. I want to thank you all very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Please like, subscribe. Have a great day.